Welcome to the final assessment structure for first book, The BAS Manager Foundations. This is the point where training becomes proof of capability. The purpose of this assessment is not only to test memory, it is to confirm that a learner can think like a BAS manager in real situations. Throughout this course, we studied mission alignment, cyber-physical systems, systems thinking, reliability, risk, governance, leadership, maturity, metrics, and operating cadence. Now the learner must show that these concepts can be applied together. The final assessment uses three major elements: a 50-question final exam, a realistic capstone project, and an 80% passing standard. Together, these confirm knowledge, skill, judgment, and professional impact. As you review this structure, remember the goal: build better, operate smarter, and prove that the learner is ready to make responsible BAS decisions in the field.
This slide shows the assessment pathway. The learner does not jump directly from lessons to a certificate. Instead, the assessment builds in stages. First, module quizzes reinforce the core concepts after each module. These quizzes help learners check their understanding before moving forward. Next, the final exam measures the full Book 1 knowledge base. It confirms that learners understand the major frameworks and can apply them across different BAS management situations. Then comes the capstone project. This is where the learner applies the course to a realistic campus scenario involving alarms, risk, documentation, governance, reliability, people, and performance. Finally, the certificate is awarded only after the learner completes the lessons, quizzes, final exam, capstone, and course evaluation. The principle is simple: assess enough to prove competence, but keep the assessment connected to real field performance. The final exam blueprint defines how the main knowledge assessment should be built. The recommended exam includes 50 total questions. 40 questions should be multiple choice and 10 should be scenario-based. This balance checks both concept understanding and professional judgment. The recommended time limit is 75 minutes with an 80% passing score. 2 attempts are recommended because the goal is professional improvement, not simply failure or success. Feedback should show the learner where they need to improve and point them back to the correct module. The exam should avoid trick questions. A good BAS assessment should test judgment, evidence, risk, mission alignment, governance, and reliability. The questions should feel like decisions a BAS professional may actually face in the field. This slide shows the recommended weighting for the final exam. The purpose of weighting is to make sure the exam reflects the full leadership model taught in Book 1. Some areas receive more weight because they require stronger judgment. Reliability, risk, ethics, governance, metrics, and the BAS manager's operating system are heavily represented because these are the areas where poor decisions can create serious operational consequences. Mission, cyber physical systems competency leadership, systems thinking, maturity, and the first 90 days are also included because they form the foundation of professional BAS management. The exam should not reward memorization alone. A learner should be able to understand what matters, identify risk, communicate priorities, and make responsible decisions under pressure. This weighting helps the assessment measure the same capabilities that the course is designed to build. Scenario-based questions are critical because BAS managers rarely make decisions in perfect conditions. They usually work with incomplete information, competing priorities, and operational pressure. A strong scenario question starts with a realistic situation. It then provides evidence such as trends, alarms, documents, observations, or stakeholder pressure. The learner must identify the decision point. What should the professional do next? What must be verified? What risk must be controlled? The question should also include a trade-off. For example, operations may want speed, but safety and governance may require evidence and approval. The best answer is not always the fastest answer. It is the answer that follows evidence, protects people and assets, respects authority, and supports long-term reliability. That is how scenario questions test real BAS judgment. The capstone project is the strongest proof of applied learning. In this project, the learner becomes the new BAS manager for a multi-building campus. The campus has many common problems: alarm overload, unsupported servers, shared accounts, incomplete backups, weak documentation, vendor dependence, uncontrolled overrides, and pressure to add analytics before stabilizing the foundation. The learner must respond like a professional BAS manager. That means starting with mission and criticality, reviewing the cyber-physical architecture, building a risk register, creating a reliability and recovery plan, and defining governance and change control. The learner must also address people, capability, maturity, first 90 days, performance metrics, and annual operating cadence. This project connects the entire book into one realistic management challenge. It asks the learner to build a program, not just answer questions. This rubric explains how the capstone should be graded. The goal is to evaluate practical work against evidence, quality, judgment, and usability. The learner receives points for mission and criticality, architecture and boundaries, risk register quality, reliability and recovery planning, governance, change control, people development, maturity roadmap, 90-day plan, scorecard, KPIs, and executive clarity. A passing project requires at least 80 points, but the evaluator should also look for critical omissions. A project should not pass if it ignores major safety, risk, governance, or recovery issues. The rubric should encourage professional improvement. One revision may be allowed when the learner has a strong foundation but needs to correct evidence gaps or improve executive communication. The capstone should feel like work a BAS manager could actually use. This slide converts the assessment structure into a LearnWorlds implementation checklist. Good content is only part of the job. The LMS setup must also be clean and manageable. Quizzes should use randomized questions when possible, 2 attempts, and helpful remediation feedback. The question bank should be tagged by module, domain, difficulty, and scenario type. This makes it easier to maintain and improve the assessment over time. For the capstone, require learners to upload a PDF or Word document with the deliverables in the correct order. The evaluator should use a 100-point rubric and provide comments when scores fall below standard. The completion rule should require all lessons, quizzes, final exam, capstone, and course evaluation. After each learner group, review weak questions and improve the assessment. The certificate should represent real readiness, not attendance alone. To earn the BMSNETPRO Academy Certificate of Completion for the BAS Manager Foundations, the learner must complete all video lessons and required readings, pass each module quiz with at least 80%, pass the final exam with at least 80%, submit the capstone project, earn at least 80 out of 100 on the capstone, complete the course evaluation, and agree to the BAS Manager Professional Principles. This certificate should tell employers and learners that the student completed meaningful professional training in BAS leadership, systems thinking, reliability, risk, governance, metrics, and professional practice. The certificate is not just a document. It is a record that the learner completed the full learning and assessment pathway.